How would you feel about school taking up an extra hour every day to teach basic adult stuff like washing clothes, basic cooking, paying taxes? My rural ass school did this in the zeros. Home ec, sewing, taxes, cooking, woodworking, etc. Could even get into metalworking, accounting, quilting, pottery, etc. if you wanted to. My school did the same. I was a good student, but at that age you just don't realize the valuable information they are giving you. You kept the information long enough to pass the tests, and then you went and got alcohol poisoning in a field, while your parents thought you were at a movie with Nicole and Becky. I'd be opposed to the extra hour, but not the activities. School was already an 8-hour-a-day thing. Pushing it up to 9 hours means it actually becomes longer than a full-time job. And that's before you get to homework and shit like that. If anything, the school day should be shorter, or keep it 8 hours in the building, but leave 2 or 3 of those for students to work on homework with a teacher around when they need help, guidance, or just for them to socialize in a somewhat structured way. Expecting kids teams to maintain any level of engagement and discipline for 8 hours straight is psychotic. It's a system built by nerds and sadists. Yep, kids are already overworked as are adults. We'd all benefit from a reduction in work. Yep, kids are already overworked as are adults. We'd all benefit from a reduction in work. But school is just too long. He spoke for all us tiny younger folk, whose lives are hard enough ahead, 4 years to come. And that's a joke, with just a little time. He said, an extra hour or 2 in bed. We'd all be sweet and starry-eyed, and well prepared to work instead. And though his words were justified, his teacher sadly so replied, just wait until you're old. He sighed. Just wait until you're old. He sighed. To be honest, I have so far found work to be a lot less stressful and time consuming than school. Definitely depends on the job and the school. But it was just funny, like old fellas were all just wait till you get a job, and then I did. And I was like, dang. You mean I don't have to stay up till 2 AM every other night just to get decent grades? They do it already. It's called life skills here. Edit 8 hours. It's only 6 here, and we get it done. WTF you wasting 3 hours on every day. More classes. From what I remember, when I was in school in the USA during like my 2nd or 3rd year, they added another class to the schedule. So we were learning from 7 different classes then. Don't remember much of it now. Not even what classes they all were. LOL. Schools have these already, and the kids in them don't care. It's not immediately relevant to their lives, so they don't pay attention. Sorta like if I were to talk to you about the do's and don'ts of denture cream. You say, hey, I'll figure it out later when I need to know it, and stop paying attention. I've taught in several schools that have tried to teach social skills, kindness, meditation, financial literacy, etc. In every case, the kids did not care. It was their least favorite part of the day because it felt like a waste of time. The point of education is to teach thinking, not doing. A well-educated student can teach themselves these things. A quick Google search can teach you how to father-in-law taxes, cook, etc. But you can't Google how to do algebra 2 and expect to understand what you read without some background in the subject matter. Edit, I got up votes. Now I'm mad with power. So I'll say this. I hear arguments like this post all the time. And I think the real issue is people not taking respo. NSI brother-in-lawity. I can't cook. That must be the school's fault. We need education reform. No, it's not the school's fault. It's your fault. You could literally Google a recipe in 20 seconds. Stop blaming other people for your problems. People don't realize that the point of education isn't to teach facts, but to change your brain. For example, physics and math majors earn the highest scores in the MC80, GM80, and LS80. It's not because they learned those things in class, but because their curriculum emphasizes logical thinking. When students slack in schoolwork, they are not just missing out on the opportunity to know stuff, they are missing out on the opportunity to be smarter. My public school had classes that teach these things. I graduated high school a decade ago. I took home economics and learned how to cook. I took financial literacy to learn about taxes and budgeting and investing. Is Utah just 1 hour ahead of the other states, or is this a made up issue? I've seen people that took these classes at my school post memes about not learning how to pay taxes and shit. I wonder if the real problem is that nobody remembers this stuff cause they teach it to you when it isn't relevant to your life. I graduated from a Utah high school in 2019. Financial literacy was very much a requirement, although I thought the subject matter taught was very broad. I think the majority of people who claim that schools never taught them these skills never paid attention in class. Your grandparents had home economics classes for the girls and shop trades classes for the boys. Every once in a while a member of the opposite sex would sign up for and take the wrong class. Too much humor. They don't teach home ec or have shop classes anymore. That's just home ec. I think that they already waste enough time, and it would be worse for kids whose parents already taught them that stuff. Washing clothes is really a 20-minute lesson, and cooking taxes have their own elective classes already. I suggest it should be an elective course which is more or less a training course for most things on it. You get a big list of life skills and basic knowledge at the start, and each class you cover something on it. The goal being to make sure every student in the class has at least done these things once in their lives, even if their parents never teach them. The washing machine example is a pretty lightweight one, though the number of university college students who take their laundry home on the weekend suggests it'd be useful. More useful would be a basic grounding in taxes, stocks and shares, voting, loans and such like. For my part, I always assumed I'd have to spend an evening at least once a year poring over all the things I've bought, figuring out what tax I owed. Turns out, here in the UK all that tax is included in the purchase, and all my income tax is taken before I receive my paycheck. So I actually don't have to do anything normally because I'm not a business owner. As I understand it, in the States you actually do have to father-in-law a tax return every year and know what you owe. It's a complex thing and there are consequences for screwing it up. I'd be very grateful for a basic class on the subject. One where the teacher puts an actual tax form down on my desk and runs through what's involved and answers questions. Washing clothes. So you put the clothes in some detergent, push a button, then dryer, then a hanger. If you can't figure out washing clothes or cooking on your own, definitely shouldn't be allowed to drive. Taxes, debt and personal finance is something that should be taught. A kid at my college brought a box full of pre-measured Ziplocs of laundry detergent that had printed directions in every bag. Like, I want to believe washing clothes is easy, but then I'd see him in the laundry room reading the directions every time. It's so funny how many of you think that kids will actually be interested in learning about taxes, stocks, etc. In what world do you think high schoolers would be attentive in a class about budgeting taxes? Have any of you met high school kids before? This used to be called home ec and most schools had it. Then boomers did away with it because it cost too much. Now they make fun of young people for not knowing things they would have learned in home ec. In my high school, home ec was for girls and all the guys took wood shop. I'd spent a few hours a weekend helping my dad build stuff since I was little, and I decided I'd rather hang out with girls for an hour than build a birdhouse or something. Best decision ever. We made cakes, learned how to negotiate rent, and sewed clothing. It wasn't exactly academically challenging, but it was a lot of fun. No regrets at all on that one. Negotiate rent. Rent a day landlord. I would like to pay less rent. Landlord no. I'm opposed to it. There's no reason parents can't teach these things to their kids while doing said tasks. School isn't responsible for every single thing. Also, with the internet, if a parent doesn't know changing a tire, for example, they can easily learn. This is all stuff anyone would be able to get info online or ask somebody at home. Hey, mom, how do you write a check? Boil an egg, change a tire, get your prescriptions father-in-lawed. It boggles the mind that kids would be willing to sit their ass in a chair at school for hours to passively listen to this, while adulting simply means that you take the time to look it up yourself and learn on your own. Since you are adulting, You get to decide how much time you want to spend on any of these things. Learning to cook does not mean you have to become a chef. It just means you can feed yourself reasonably nutritious food that you enjoy eating. You can go all out and learn to bake a fancy quiche if you enjoy it, or just learn to fry a couple of eggs in 2 minutes. You decide, and have the power over how you want to feed yourself. It's okay if you don't want to learn to do your taxes. Although if you only have one job and don't have properties or business, it can be so straightforward that it's probably worth learning to do on your own in a couple of hours. There's no need to buy a sewing machine to alter your clothes unless you think you would enjoy it as a permanent hobby. But anyone can spend a couple of dollars on a cheap sewing kit and look up how to sew a button, because it only takes a few minutes and it does come in handy. Totally fine to wait until your button falls off. There are no prescribed items you must know to be an adult. You just have to do the best you can with what you have. And that often means learning something new on your own when needed, and you get to decide how to do it. Those are the things that a competent parent should teach their child. I think it's ridiculous that washing clothes and basic cooking would be considered adult stuff. These are all things I learned at home and was doing for myself by high school. Are people's parents really just doing all this for them? These are things that can be learned independently by simply doing them. Taxes are damn near idiot proof in most cases because they are designed to be. Washing clothes. Follow the instruction manual. Cooking. Watch YouTube. Follow a recipe. What these all have in common is that you need a solid grasp on numeracy and literacy. These are things that must be explicitly taught. These are the core skills that underpin almost everything. People who complain about not being taught how to do their taxes tend to have shitty numeracy skills. People who struggle to father-in-law out a form tend to have shitty literacy. Can't read instructions. Literacy issue. You can make education as practical as possible, but the fact is many don't want to learn until it's too late. I say this as a teacher, we really do a lot to make education as relevant to real world needs as possible, but there is not getting around the fact that a person must learn to be fluent in both reading and writing, as well as be able to think mathematically to cope in the real world. The rest of what we do is for the purpose of teaching you how to learn effectively, how to think in different ways, how to adapt to unfamiliar challenges, and how to deal with abstract ideas. We don't teach the model of the atom because you need to know where the elections go. We teach you so that you can learn how to grasp concepts that are not directly observable, make logical conclusions from them, and apply abstract ideas to real-world phenomena. The actual topics are just vehicles for these skills. Nope. Parents have to take some responsibility for having kids, too. Also, cooking has largely been dropped from curriculums, mainly because of the danger in it. Kid drops chicken on the dirty floor and picks it up quickly. Kid knocks boiling water off the stove. Schools would be sued quite quickly. Tax, yeah, but wouldn't it be better to teach kids about how governments use their tax? Here's the deal about the whole paying taxes thing. It changes every single year. By design. Taxes are hard. They don't need to be, but they are. Teach critical thinking and reading comprehension instead. Japanese schools do this to a degree. The students are responsible for cleaning the classroom and serving lunch to their classmates. I think it would be a great idea if well explained and supported by the community. Otherwise, the school risks parents going bananas, think Karens, and who knows what. I would say the parents should be doing that. Why even have the kid if you want the teachers to raise them? I would disagree. This is stuff that should be taught during school, not adding on to it. You mean things parents should be teaching their children without relying on parents to teach them? Here, you teach them this shit cause I don't want to. Here, you teach them this shit because I don't have the time to. Here, you teach them this shit because I don't know how to teach. How about we teach people how to be parents without involving religion or politics? How about we teach people how not to be parents if they don't want to? How about we make a strong middle class so that parents have time and energy to teach their children the things that they need to know and can still do things like pay rent and feed themselves? Man, life is hard. Opposed. 1 hour every day for 4 years. 8 or 12 is just way too damn ducking high. How about it is a mandatory elective and you take 2 of them on HS totaling 1 year. I did woodshop, mechanical design, architecture, art, and economics as electives. Just remove 2 of those and you can add home life understanding or some shit. Also people mention home ec. I had that and it was stupid as shit. We in the course of 5 months made shit cookies and a gingerbread house. No really that is it. Literally Octodec was a gingerbread house. I have no clue how, but it is true. Don't forget civics. We need to start teaching civics again, so people learn how brother-in-laws and elections work, and that there's nothing ducking mysterious about it. I'm a mother-in-law millennial. It was a required class to graduate at my school. I think these are things that parents should teach their children.